All right, here we go. This is the week 9, week 10 Cloud Heyne podcast, our second version of this. And we're going to change things up a little bit this week. And we're going to go and just dive right into the matchups we just had for week 9. Week 9 was a kind of all over the place. And we're going to start with the matchup of the week, which was JP versus Mason. Both of these teams are kind of on the cusp of a playoff spot right now, which is why they were selected. And JP took the W in this one. It was ugly, very, very ugly victory.
Very ugly.
But he somehow pulled it off. It was actually the lowest winning score since TJ beat Cisco in week 4. And that was with 104 points. TJ won that game.
Yikes.
And JP was able to pull it off with a measly 113. So for all the people that scored over that and lost,
like you, sir,
JP this week, like me, yeah. So, not all of us are blessed with our opponent putting up 97. Just it'd be nice if one time that could happen, but I can't really complain because I had the lowest points against me, I think, overall. But it's never that really, really terrible score for a week just to give me a win. It's normally like consistently bad.
I have a feeling this is going to turn into more of a roast podcast than anything.
It'll be me roasting myself probably. So yeah, Davante Adams, he played on Thursday Night Football. The guy is just outrageous. I mean, this matchup was basically over from that point because Davante Adams he killed it with over 30 points again this year. The guy's just out of control.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I mean, he's literally arguably him and Adam Jones are the only two offensive weapons they have, and Davante is he's a fantasy god. He really is.
Yeah. I mean, he's everything you want out of a first round pick. I mean, of all the first round picks that were this year, he's nailed it for that one. And then Evan Ingram, who I had in my best ball league, who's done nothing all season, actually caught a receiving touchdown. So I'm going to give him a golf clap here. Thank you for doing your job. Week 9. His other TD this year was actually a rushing score, if you can believe that. So first time of the year that he has gotten on the board through the air as a tight end.
Yeah, way to stick with him. I have him in a couple other leagues, and dude, I ended up not sticking with him this year, and it's hard to stick with a guy that just continues to just not produce, and especially at the tight end position, outside of the top 3, it's just like a coin flip. And I know Ingram's has just been very, very disappointing for owners. So I'm sure he rewarded you with some nice loyalty there.
Yeah, as a Giants fan too. So yeah, anyone from that offense has been very tough to throw out there this season.
Right.
Now, JP at the quarterback position, he's been struggling here since Dak got injured, and he's been playing quarterback roulette. And this week he played Stafford over Carr, and Carr outscored him with 13 completions compared to Stafford's 23 completions. So it's not always about volume, I guess. It's efficiency is key there, but interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting stat there. Both teams failed to reach their projections this week, as you can see from those miserable scores. The 4 running backs in this matchup combined for 18 points total. It was a terrible week in general for running backs. I think there was only 2 running backs that scored over 20 points in fantasy, which of course was McCaffrey and Cook. But Mason played hasty on Thursday night, 3 points out of the gate. I mean, as a Niner fan, I don't even know who that is. So congrats to you for going for that. But that pretty much buried him right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So really poor performance there for the running backs. And Corey Davis for Mason had 0 points. Tough call there. I mean, Corey Davis has been producing, but shame on you for playing him against the Bears, I guess. Not a single point. And it's not like he was hurt or anything. He just literally did nothing. So,
well, it's funny. Just back to the I'm looking actually in their matchup, and David Montgomery, Dobbins for JP, and Hasty and Gordo for Mason. And I'm pretty sure Montgomery, he left like early in the first. So, if you're facing somebody that goes down, that is such a huge advantage that you have. And Mason still couldn't capitalize on it. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, Montgomery finished with 14 carries. I'm not sure if he got hurt or what, but he did absolutely nothing. He had 30 yards on 14 carries, and he's basically like averaging 2 to 3 yards a carry, it feels like. I mean, the Bears' run blocking is absolutely a nightmare.
Yeah.
I had Montgomery last year, and he has nowhere to go. So it's just – and JP traded for him because he's desperate, but the guy is just so meh.
Yeah. No, you know what? He actually did. He played the whole game. I think he left in the fourth quarter. So I was actually wrong. But there were a few people that went down with injuries. And, whenever you're going against somebody that has gone down like early in the game, it's a huge advantage. I think that happened in our matchup, but we can talk about that kind of later. So,
yeah. And this was Mason's lowest score of the year and of his season. It was also the fourth time a team put up less than 100 points this year. Roth has done it twice, and he's currently in the playoffs. So very boomer bust team he's got over there. So JP with this win, he improves to 2-2 against Mason, lifetime over the league. It's JP's second straight win, and he's looking for his first 3-game winning streak of the year. So JP's got some momentum going here.
He does.
And 4 of JP's last 5 opponents he has played actually have scored less than 115 points. So no one's really doing much against him, and he's kind of skating by right now. Some nice luck there for his opponents. I mean, 4 out of 5 less than 115. That's what you dream of. You take a win any way you can get it, but no one seemed to do anything against him lately.
Yeah, but if you know the fantasy gods, Justin, they are very cruel. They are very cruel.
They are very cruel and unforgiving. And speaking of which, Mason is looking to avoid his first 3-game losing streak of the year. He's lost the last 2. So, with that said, we'll jump over to Danny versus Cisco. Cisco was projected to crush Danny this week, and he pretty much did. All of Cisco's position players put up over 10 points, which is very impressive to see that. Cisco did not play John Brown, who was one of my DraftKings plays this week, and he was like 3 yards short of scoring, and he already had a very nice game. So he could have had a huge day against that awful Seahawks secondary, but Cisco still won anyway, but I thought he should have played him.
Right.
The Titans defense was a nice play for him. I think they had a touchdown. I think Foles fumbled and they ran one in. So that's always a huge boost if your defense can score a TD for you.
Oh yeah. And like I said, it's nice. Actually, I'm looking at his lineup. It's nice to see Michael Thomas actually score fantasy points. Jeez.
I don't like it since I don't have him, but that's a big boost for him. But the key takeaway from this matchup is our team in trouble last week. In last week's podcast was Danny, and he took a loss there. So we look like a bunch of geniuses here, pat on our back.
Yep.
But I mean, it comes down to George Kittle. What are you doing, man? I mean, what are you doing? Like, you're playing a guy who's literally out. Like, you didn't even grab another tight end at all. You stuck him in your starting position, and he played Thursday night, and you take a 0 right there. Like, it's unforgivable. It's ridiculous. I know you just had a kid, but come on, man. I mean, your team name is I'm Wiry, but I think it might need to be I'm Semi, because that's awful. It's inexcusable.
I guess in Danny's defense, when he chose to basically take a goose egg for Kittle and leave him in there, Kittle was actually not the lowest scoring person on his roster. It was actually Tampa Bay's defense with a -1. So way to go, Danny.
Yes, that same defense that dropped 29 points on me, but whatever. Um, yeah, that's that's a great point. And then yeah, Slayton, he had Slayton in there. Slayton caught the first pass of the game and wasn't targeted the rest of the game. So that'll kill you. So he
Yeah.
got rocked there. Um, Chase Edmonds, Chase Edmonds, all I've been
Ah,
hearing about is how this guy should be starting over Drake. This guy is the answer. He's the reason that the guy had 2.8 yards per carry. I
I
mean,
cannot believe that. I really cannot believe that. I've been so high on Edmonds all year. I pretty much drafted him in my other league for for this moment. I knew at some point Drake would go down and he would, be the bell cow. This was his chance to make me sound so good. And I don't know if it was a bad matchup or he just faced like the wrong defense at the wrong time, but crazy. I don't get it. I don't get it. He still put up 11 points, but still this was the spot where he was supposed to just blow up.
yeah, I think he was ranked a top 10 back, and he finished in like the mid 20s. So maybe the Cardinals just don't know how to run the football and over there. I don't know, but Kyler Murray, he takes off and runs instead of
He
dumping it down
does.
a lot too. So it's a tough
It is.
team to have a running back on, I feel like, this year.
It is.
So yeah, with that loss, Danny took, that's his third straight and 5 of 6. So the man is just tumbling over here, and we'll see if he'll do anything. The trade deadline's coming up, and he's got some pieces he could probably move. I don't know if he's going to do anything though, but still on the struggle bus. And Cisco is going to look for his first 2-game win streak of the year. So he's got a few wins. He doesn't have 2 in a row yet, but we'll see if
Right.
he can pick up another one here this week.
I never, I guess like the final thought I'll say about this maybe matchup is I never thought beginning of the season, if you were to tell me that Danny could be in contention for the plate frame, I would probably think you're high. You're complete full of shit. And I can't believe it. I'm shocked. I'm literally shocked.
You know
What is
what?
going
Anything can
on?
happen, man. Anything can happen. And yeah, we're seeing it before our eyes.
Yeah, you're right.
So the next matchup we're going to look at is Billy versus Roth. And the first thing I want to say here is get worked, Roth. Get worked. He guaranteed a win versus Billy. Our team on the rise called out the podcast, thought we were BSing, thought we were full of shit. And Billy took it to you this week. Big loss there for you, sir. Yeah, anything you say in the chat will come back in the podcast.
No one is safe. No one is
Nobody.
safe.
So for Billy's team, Curtis Samuel went off again for the Panthers. He's been playing very well. He's like a go-to for Teddy, it seems like, especially on third down. And Billy played Drew Lock over Breeze, not Andrew Luck, but Drew Lock.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a good play for him. Locke didn't do anything most of the game, and as he seems to do lately, scored like 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So that was a good play by him.
Yeah.
And looking at Roth's team, I mean, wow, he had a lot of guys basically do nothing. I mean, he played Taylor on the 49ers, which is pretty much like our 4th string wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He should probably be a Tampa Bay Viper next year, but yeah, I don't know how you can play a 49ers wide receiver. I mean, they're risky as it is, even with our top guys, let alone like our 4th string wide receiver. So that was an embarrassment play. Tanyan had 1 target for Green Bay, and yeah, both those guys played Thursday night. So you pretty much buried yourself right away.
Yep. And
Chiefs defense,
KC -1.
Chiefs defense, negative points there. Yeah, the Panthers, they could have won that game. I mean, they were right in that game, and they were up, but the Chief magic just was too much for them to handle, I guess.
It is so depressing when it happens to everybody, but it is just so depressing when you start somebody that ends up somehow through magic gets minus fantasy points. I just don't understand how it can happen. And I think I honestly think, didn't you shift in terms of the defense scoring, like the scoring? Didn't you like kind of shift things around a little bit with the standings? Like you didn't go with the custom defense like scoring this year. Didn't you switch something around, or maybe you didn't?
After the first year, so starting last year, I changed the defensive scoring a little bit, where it favors you more if your defense gives up less points, and it hurts you more if your defense gives up more points. Because I feel like DraftKings and the Yahoo default, it's more based on sacks and turnovers and touchdowns, and points are kind of like whatever. So I feel like, points is just very undervalued. So I changed it a little bit. So yeah, if your team gets sacks and picks but gives up 30, 40 points,
I like that.
You're not going to have a great day. Yeah,
I like that. I really do. It's high risk, high reward. I mean, it also, you have to manage your team. I mean, you can't just throw in a defense, because if they shit the bed, then it could be brutal. It could come back and just be the reason why you lost the matchup. So.
Yeah, I've seen it before where people will play good defenses against great offenses, and they give up points, and it's going to hurt you in this league. So yeah, when I saw the Tampa Bay game, which had me grinning from ear to ear, just seeing Brady get owned finally. I had a feeling that Roth played Brady because he's been playing him like every single week. And I frantically went to check his lineup and fire him up, and he had him on the bench for Big Ben, which was the right move.
It was.
I was really hoping the Brady fanboy had him in for that game, and of course
Roth also could have done the tandem. I mean, he could have started. I mean, the experts were saying, start Brady. Also, I mean, you can't fault him starting Big Ben at Dallas. But I mean, the experts were saying, were predicting that Sunday night football game was going to be a blowout, and he could have had the Brady and AB, like the return of AB tandem situation going on. But he ended up making the right decision not playing those guys. But yeah.
And this was only a 9-point difference game. I mean, one decision could have made the difference here. And Roth played Justin Jackson, who got injured, and McKissick. If he would have played McKissick over Jackson, he would have won. So you got to see that coming, I guess. Shame on you.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we mentioned it last week in the podcast. I mean, he's going against Derrick Henry and Kamara, and like those guys were somewhat, stopped. Like they were stopped. Like both of those guys did not blow up, and Ross still couldn't take advantage, of that.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the running backs this week were very weak across the board. So yeah, those two studs, they didn't do much. And you're right, it's a great point. So this is Billy's first win versus Roth. So congrats, Billy. You are now 1-1 against Roth. This is his first 2-game winning streak of the year. So welcome. And this is actually Roth's only his second loss in the last 7 weeks. So he has been taking care of business here. Yeah. And he's still currently in a playoff contention. All right, so the next matchup here is Sed versus TJ. And for me, this was the election battle, a very back and forth matchup. It looked like TJ had this thing in the bag, and then the Cardinals game started, and Sed had Kyler Murray, who just went off. And of course, Dalvin Cook, who's just been unbelievable this year, especially the last few weeks.
No, you're right. Dalvin Cook has just been the number one fantasy guy. I would not want to face him right now at all.
Yeah. And this was the chief running back battle matchup. So Sed, who traded for Le'Veon Bell, put him in there again. I respect the faith. You trade for a guy, you throw him in there. And of course, TJ has Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And the two of these guys combined for 9 carries. What? I
That's
mean,
unbelievable.
what are the Chiefs doing? Like,
Yeah.
I know you have Mahomes, but you have to run the ball a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
9 carries across 2 guys. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I honestly do think the KC game, the actual NFL game, went completely in the opposite direction that the Chiefs probably expected that game to go. And because I'm not looking at the quarters, but I'm pretty sure the Chiefs were down for like the first half of the game, and it turned into a more of a shootout. They were going to have to throw the ball around, get away from the run game. But yeah, it was just such a weird like turn of events. For the Chiefs, I with the bell kind of coming over to the team, you know, I could tell that they're trying to like experiment with things a little bit more and kind of get him caught up to speed. But I tell you what, sometimes like that kind of thing can just completely disrupt like the momentum of like a team. And I know they have plenty of wiggle room, to figure it out, but still just, I mean, the Chiefs kind of got lucky, in my opinion, with the outcome of that game, which I did not see coming at all.
Yeah, and Sed also played Bell over Amari Cooper,
Right.
which he probably never thought in a million years he would have done that, especially with Bell not being the main guy. But he did. He still won the game, but I mean, Cooper was definitely the better play there in the end.
Agreed.
And then you got TJ with Gronk. He's one of those managers with tight end problems, one of the many of us with tight end issues. And the guy had 1 catch on 6 targets. So just an abysmal performance for him. If he could have done something, TJ could have potentially came back and won this game, but it was all for naught.
I mean, yeah, it's the next point that we have here. I mean, it's hard to deal with putting up 141 plus points and it not being enough to win a matchup. That's pretty much what happened with this matchup. I mean, TJ put up 141.2 points and he lost. And he lost. It was just a brutal loss. So
yeah, and that's his second week in a row this has happened. So he put up 140 plus last week and lost to a 150 plus team. But you can't feel completely bad for him because remember my point earlier, he won a game this year with 104 points. So
there you go.
What goes around comes around. But I know he mentioned in the chat that his team's finally playing well and he's starting to lose. So it's just the way it is sometimes.
It's the fantasy gods that they take care of things.
Right. And said that he's on a 3-game winning streak right now. His team is rolling with Dalvin Cook. And TJ is going to look to avoid his first 3-game losing streak. But his next 2 games are versus you and Zamit, are 1 and 2 teams. So, yeah, you better tighten up. It could be a bumpy ride here. Now the next game we're looking at is Steve Adams versus Zamit. And this was the David and Goliath matchup coming into this season. You got last year's champion versus the plate frame owner in Zamit. And what do you know? Zamit takes out Steve, the fantasy gods. Zamit got CMC back for this game just in time to beat Steve. And I know Steve is very pissed off and wanted me to mention that, he had to play you with Mike Davis because CMC was out, and Mike Davis lit him up. And then when he plays the CMC owner, he comes back and drops like a 37 bomb on him. So Steve he's had some bad luck this year, but hey, it's fantasy.
It is. It seriously is.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, Zamit had, CMC back, and then Josh Allen was unreal against Seattle. I mean, destroyed them. I think he had 4 or 5 touchdowns. And yeah, it's good, very good win for Zamit. You can see what he can do with a healthy McCaffrey on his team.
Oh yeah.
And he was winning without him. We mentioned that last time. So impressive win there. But I mean, for Steve, Lamar Jackson, he carried him last year to a title, I would say, as the MVP. And he looks very average this season. I don't know what it is. I feel like people are taking away Mark Andrews more. The running game just isn't as effective. But he's not been, that MVP stud that he was a year ago. And it's exposing some holes across his team, I think, this time.
Right. And this is a little breaking news into the podcast. It just broke. CMC is not expected to play in Week 10. Mike Davis should be taking over as the Panthers lead back. That's breaking news from the podcast. Continue.
All right. That's huge because I am playing Zamit this week and I need that. And if anyone else cares, in my other league, I'm also playing McCaffrey. So let's go. Get him out of there. Finally.
All right. Continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off tangent.
Oh, it's all good. I'm pumped. I'm freaking fired up. I was hoping for that breakthrough today. So here we go. Let's see here. DeAndre Hopkins, 3 targets. How, why, what? I had Hopkins last year in this league and he would get targets, but just not really do anything with them. But
yeah,
3, I mean, Christian Kirk is like, what? Yeah. He's like the guy now. I mean, what a great trade for Mason looking back. I mean, he's been killing it, but Hopkins, 3 targets, like really? He's got to be pissed. He's got to be pissed. I don't even understand that.
I mean, Hopkins was he a first round pick or was he a second round pick? I'm not looking at the draft, but
Steve picked up the 1-2 turn and took Mixon and Hopkins. So he was at the turn there. And he was absolutely killing it in the beginning of the season.
He was.
But now Murray is he's throwing it to all kinds of people. So
yep.
And then James Conner, 9 carries, and he scored 4 points against Dallas. How?
I'm baffled. Unless the Steelers were kind of hiding an injury or something, or they just I honestly thought Conner was going to blow up. I figured the Steelers would get out to a lead and they would just run the clock, pound the ball with Conner. And I'm baffled. I'm a Steelers fan. I'm completely baffled at, Conner's lack of production. I mean, he wasn't even used. He wasn't even used in the game. And it's hard to believe.
I mean, that whole game is hard to believe. I mean, the Steelers almost lost that game. I mean, it's like a 4th string quarterback. So
yeah,
it's a big head scratcher there across the board. But yeah, I don't know what that is. That's a very disappointing line. I mean, if I had Conner and that was the result against Dallas, I would certainly be pissed off.
Yeah, no, I stacked Conner and I did like 3 daily fantasy leagues for week 9 or lineups, and I put him in every single one. I thought he would be one of the top 3 backs, and did the opposite. It's crazy. Just sometimes you could be so wrong on things.
Yeah. And now Steve did play Hawkinson over Andrews, which was a good play.
Mm-hmm.
Andrews has just been very whatever this year, like most tight ends. And that was a good decision by him. But Zamit takes care of business there, and Zamit, you got your first win ever versus Steve in the league history. So you are now 1-3 against him. Golf clap for your victory. Congrats, sir. It is possible. And as of right now, Zamit is 2 wins from a playoff lock. We have 4 games left. He's 2 wins away from locking up a playoff, and he's 3 from a bye. So
good job.
If he goes 500 here, he's in the playoffs. He's in the dance. He could technically I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but there's no way Zamit can get the plate frame. So that thing is coming off, and one of us is taking it. It could be myself. Congrats. But yeah, he has risen from the ashes.
That has to be a good feeling.
It's got to be nice. It's got to be nice to know that's coming off, and you might even win some money here. So
yeah,
hey, that's why you play each season,
right?
And of course, the final matchup was you versus moi.
And what a matchup it was. Whew.
Congratulations, sir. I mean, were you worried at any point?
Honestly, going into the matchup, I was a little worried. I just didn't feel confident. I know I was due for a dud of a week because everything has been clicking. It's the fact that I was going up against you. I could see the headline this week. You would somehow beat me. But literally, as soon as the 1:00 games start, I get a notification. I was working, and I get a notification like right away, probably at like 1:05 or 1:06. DJ Chark 73-yard touchdown reception. And I'm like, I got this. I seriously got this.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Are you fucking kidding me? With a backup quarterback, like
I could not believe it.
It's unbelievable. Chark hasn't done anything lately, and
he's done nothing.
He has a huge bomb touchdown immediately, and I faced him actually in both leagues this week.
Of course you did.
Yeah, so that was great to see. The backup quarterback is incredible, apparently. So, yeah, that hurt. And I mean, dude, your team to me, it's Travis Kelce. I mean, that guy, he outscored all the position players of this week, all of my position players.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a tight end, and the guy is just unreal. He's like good for 20 a week. I'll be lucky to scrap 10 from my guy. I mean, what a huge advantage that is having him.
Kelce has been my savior. It's just funny looking at my draft. I went Julio with the 9th pick, and then the wraparound, I took Kelce in the second round. It was pick 16. I tell you what, Kelce was just such a good pick at 2. He's just been so consistent, complimenting like everything about my team. I mean, like you said, the guy gets 15, 20 points every single week. And even with the tight ends, there is just nobody close to him in terms of the tight end production. You actually sent us the position breakdown, and in fact, let me. You can move on to these other points. I actually want to pull that breakdown up because there was the total tight end fantasy points, top to bottom. Kelce, I believe he had like 163 or 183, something along those lines.
I've got it right here. You're in first with 168.9, and the second team is Cisco with 119.7.
That's crazy. I'm making up so many points, with each week with putting him in there. It's insane.
Yeah, you got 58 points above the second place guy. That's just one player like in the position. Right. That's just one guy. So
that was
it's unbelievable. When you look at wide receivers, for example, JP has a 48-point lead over the second place team, but that's with 3 guys. You have one guy with a 50-point lead, and you look at tight end. Sed is in the last with 61. You have 107 more points than him in just the tight ends position.
It's such a mind-boggling stat. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, if he stays healthy, it's going to be tough to beat your team.
Yeah, and the other. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just the other point you have on here too. I didn't know what to do. I did not know how to manage my running backs and my flex position this week. I was going back and forth between like 4 guys. It was pretty much between Aaron Jones, who was, was he going to play? Was he not going to play? If he does play, is he going to be used like at all? I left him in there. That was the right decision to make. Then I had Singletary. I knew I was going to play Singletary because I didn't like the Ronald Jones matchup. So that was, I guess, technically, I mean, he did nothing, but he scored more than Ronald Jones. So I started the right person there. But then it was the flex position. I did not know who to flex. And I threw Jonnu in there, and the guy, he doesn't blow up, but the guy gets me a touch and some yards and was a good play again. So, dude, it was tough. I mean, this week was just another, Kelce kind of just microcosm of my entire year. Everybody on my team produces. And then I normally have one or two guys that just go off each week on top of getting production from every single position. So.
Yeah. When you put John in, I was like, okay, like that's a desperation move. And then he scores a touchdown. So awesome. And then for me, I got to go on a rant here. Like, what a frustrating week it was, because I actually had a very good start to the week, and I had a beacon of hope. I feel like, here's the thing too. It's like, Mike Davis isn't playing now. Oh my goodness. Like, this is such a great opportunity for me. And I still lose by 40.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's so ridiculous. Like, I actually had some hope there with some things for this week, and I still get absolutely crushed. And one of those reasons was David Johnson. He got hurt in the first quarter of the game. I didn't even get to see him play by the time I got home, and I saw Duke Johnson score, and I was like, "Wait, what's happening?" And what a backbreaker, because that was a great matchup for him, and for him to go out in the first quarter, that was a dagger.
Oh yeah. Well, when I made the comment earlier in the podcast about David Montgomery leaving in the first, I was wrong. I meant I was actually meaning to say it was David Johnson, because he left in the first quarter, and I mean, it's just brutal. That was one of the storylines that I told you our matchup would come down to this storyline. It would me having Deshaun Watson, you having David Johnson. Are the touchdowns going to be rushing touchdowns? Are they going to be throwing touchdowns? Dude, you started a guy that basically left after 5 minutes of the game. I mean, that was just such a momentum swing.
It kills you.
It's very rarely does a matchup come down to somebody is starting a quarterback, the opponent is actually starting the running back. But whenever those matchups happen, I mean, that game, the way that game like happens is just it's going to determine like what happens in the fantasy matchup, and it went all completely my way. That had to suck. that had to suck. Oh
yeah, I needed a blow up from him, but what can you do?
Right.
I mean, another guy on my team, and I know I've been bitching about this guy, is DJ Moore. I mean, this guy doesn't even get targeted. He doesn't even get looked at by Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, he had 3 targets on 49 attempts. That is literally impossible. I mean, the guy is your best wide receiver. And I know, oh, no, Robbie. No, fuck that. Like, DJ Moore is a first-round pick. He's a solid guy. He's more talented than those other guys. He's open all freaking time. I watch their games. Teddy doesn't even look at him. And I made this comment, I'll make it again. The next child that Teddy Bridgewater has, it's a coin flip if DJ Moore is the father. I'm convinced, because this guy isn't even looked at, and they're down, they're losing. And you know what? They've lost 4 straight games now, and this is probably why, because they don't even get this guy going. It's just ridiculous.
The other point too, I'm just looking at your at your production here, man. I mean, Matt Ryan, I also, another storyline in our matchup was going to be the Matt Ryan, you starting Matt Ryan, me starting Julio Jones, and not being able to start Ridley due to injury. And honestly, the way this matchup was going, the whole Matt Ryan play and me, the Julio play, it was going perfectly, because Ryan, he threw 2 touchdown passes. His first 2 touchdown passes, I believe, were not to Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm. I know.
So
I was so excited to see that.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like you're gonna make up some ground. That's not good for me. And then Julio got the third one, which was big. That was big. But it was, if Julio didn't get that touchdown, man, that would have been a lot of points that you could have even made up on me. And who knows what would have happened. But yeah, there were definitely some storylines in our matchup. I really thought the Pittsburgh defense was going to net me more points based off of their matchup going into Dallas, and they they definitely didn't blow me the matchup, but I was I figured it would be a lot more of a big day for the Pittsburgh's D fantasy wise than what it was.
Yeah, speaking of defense, my Cardinals defense, which I actually swapped out pretty late in the week, I had Houston in there. I put Cardinals in because I just felt like Tua, first start on the road, he could struggle, but he didn't do anything really at all
No.
the week before. And the Cardinals got absolutely shredded. So
Yeah.
I think I took a 0 there from them.
Yeah.
Cook had 2 catches in a 38-point game for the Saints. So figure that out. No idea. Another tight end nightmare for me season. It's just
also too,
it is for
Also too, I mean, I found it very surprising that you started a Steeler. It was their kicker. I know why you did it, but I know you and your absolute loathing of Pittsburgh Steelers. I just thought it was kind of funny that you put it in there. You put in Boswell in there, and of course Boswell misses like an extra point and a field goal. I just to add more insult to your week. But yeah, man, it sucks. It just sucks. But it was somebody had to lose. It was just 162 points. Like that's been like my average every single week. It's just it's tough to even realize, but it's just been a great year.
So. Yeah. I must say that I don't know who noticed this, but I actually benched Zeke this week, my first round pick, which I never thought in a million years I would bench a healthy Zeke Elliott, but
it was the right decision. You made the right decision.
It's 2020. Yeah. I mean, I guess I could have played him over DJ if I would have known DJ got hurt, but I mean, it's not easy putting your first round pick on the bench, but the guy is he's just so mediocre and it's killing me.
Yeah. I guess, to defend yourself though, dude, I mean, looking back, you could have put him in, at the end of the day, all these games were played. You didn't have an optimal lineup in there that would have beat me.
No, there's no
so way. At the end of the day, it is what it is. You just move on.
Yeah.
But dude, your team is solid, man. Your team is much better than the last couple of years. Like for you to essentially be in last place, I mean, your record is what you are. For you to actually be in last place, I don't think you're a last place team. We'll see what happens though.
Yeah. And this week, I had 3 players with under 5 points scored. I look back at that because I feel like every single week I have guys that just do nothing, as you can see, based on the projections versus reality thing that I've been tracking. I've had 9 players since week 3 that have had 5 points or less, and I've at least one every single week since week 3, like a position player. So it's just some guy on my team every single week will do nothing, and I don't know who it's going to be, but we'll see.
I mean, that's a good point. This year, I mean, I think NFL in general, there's been more scoring than ever. I think, I just remember reading the lines that this year, like it's broken records, how many points have been scored. And that also parallels to fantasy points. I mean, there's probably been more fantasy points that have been scored this year than any other year, which means you can't afford to like go on a streak like that, to have, that many guys put up, that amount of points. It's not going to translate into success. When you first started the league, 100 points, 125 points, if you put up 100, 125 points, probably confident you're going to win. But now not so much. I mean, you honestly have to put up like 150 plus points to feel confident about winning most weeks. And it's tough. It's not easy to do.
Yeah. So, and to be fair, I did change the scoring to full PPR this year too.
True.
But,
that makes a difference too.
Yeah. And, with that win against me, you moved to 3-1 against me all time. I actually have beat you before somehow one of these years, but, and you did secure a playoff spot.
That's
with
huge.
The victory. So you are in the dance, and you are 1 win away to lock in a bye, which is a top 2 seed. So you just got to win 1 of the next 4, and you'll be kicking back in week 14.
All right, Teach, let's help me out, sir. Let's go. Come on, TJ.
So, right now, after that game, I actually, looking at the league history, you have the best still in league history. Your record is 28-11. which is very impressive. And I have the worst record in the entire league. I'm 12-22 in league history. So I've won 12 games in 3 seasons. It's
as commissioner.
as the commissioner, I don't understand. Whatever. I'm over it. So I'm looking to avoid my second 3-game losing streak of the year. I already have one. And I'm going up against Zamit this week, the number 2 seed. So I've been losing to the bottom feeders of this league, and now I'm playing the top seeds, and it's not ideal.
Oh man.
So that caps our week 9 review. So after all those conversations and looking at those matchups, our team on the rise. Last week it was Billy, picked up a W. Our team on the rise is Cisco. And a big reason for that is Michael Thomas is back. He's healthy. The Saints have a nice schedule coming up here. And, he's got Russell Wilson. He's got some pieces there. So, Cisco can put up points. So don't underestimate him with his auto-drafted team. He is my team on the rise.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm just kind of scrolling through his current roster. And, I mean, Wilson – even a bad week for Wilson's still going to be better than most weeks. He has Marvin Jones Jr. I mean, the whole Galladay injury. Who knows if that's going to be a sub week kind of a thing? But that's somebody that is good to have in there. Michael Thomas is back. He's pretty much, not had him any other week. So now to get his arguably, focal point of his fantasy roster back, that's huge. And then, I mean, you even look at Fournette, something happened where now Fournette, I feel, is like the go-to guy. So, the rookie receiver, Mapletron, Chase Claypool for Pittsburgh. He also has the wide receiver. I mean, he's always going to have upside in starting him. And then, he is a very balanced team. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but he is definitely a team, in my opinion, that's on the rise. I definitely agree with that.
All right. And then that brings us to our team on the decline, who last week was Danny, and he took the L. And my team on the decline right now is going to be Mason. He just put up 97 points. So that's a bit concerning. And Kareem Hunt is no longer going to be the guy in Cleveland. It sounds like Nick Chubb's coming back, and that's going to put a damper in Hunt, who's arguably his best running back right now.
Yeah, I honestly was going to I made a wardrobe change right before the podcast started. I was going to wear my Washington Redskins Randall L jersey, but I didn't want to give Mason any love, being that we were going to highlight his team as the team on the decline. So
there it goes.
Kick
them when they're down.
Exactly.
That's what we're here for.
I didn't. Yeah. But I mean, looking at Mason's team, I agree. I still think Hunt has standalone value. I mean, honestly, Hunt was, even with Chubb in there as the backup, Hunt was still producing, in my opinion, better than he's produced as the workhorse the last 4 or 5 weeks, which is kind of strange. I just think when Hunt kind of took over things, it was the exact point in the schedule where he just went against just brutal defenses. And it's tough. It really is tough, that a lot of it just comes down to luck and schemes and defenses and that sort of thing. But I mean, I still think Hunt has standalone value, and Chubb, I mean, the guy just tries to run through a brick wall every single time he touches the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls a CMC, and as soon as he's back, he's out. He's back out. So we'll see. But yeah, there's Mace. I'm sorry, man. There's nothing really that scares me about your team. You are definitely. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but we'll see.
Yeah, so looking forward to the Week 10 matchups. The matchup of the week is going to be Roth versus Sed. Both these guys are 5-4. They're the only two teams playing this week with winning records against each other. Right now, they're both playoff teams, but the team that's going to lose this is going to be on the cusp there. So it's a big matchup, and a win here might get you closer to stealing that bye from Zamit.
Yeah, I mean it's the 3 seed in Said versus the 4 seed in Roth, and I mean yeah, like you said, I mean whoever loses this matchup, I would almost think a bye is completely out of reach. I mean it's not, but it's probably out of reach. If you're hoping for a bye, and whoever wins this still has a chance of possibly getting getting a bye based on like what happens maybe with me and Zamit here down the stretch, but. Yeah, that's definitely probably the premier fantasy matchup, implication wise, in my opinion, for week 10 for sure.
Yeah, now we got Cisco versus Billy, Volo City versus Volo City. For those who don't know, Volo City is the new Baltimore Social. These guys are close friends, the newest members of the league. So they're finally playing each other here in week 10. So we'll see how that goes. Mason versus Danny. This is the only child showdown. Both of these guys are only children. So we'll see how you do against each other. Now, this is also my two decline teams. Danny was our decline, and now Mason is our decline. So something has to give here. One of these guys is going to come out with a win.
Who's going to suck less?
Exactly. JP versus Steve Adams. The three of us have a constant chat going on at work about fantasy football. And I play Steve next week. So it's going to be a lot of chirping going on. And it starts here with this Exelon battle. I think I'm not going to say who I'm rooting for, but we'll keep going on. So funny. TJ versus RJ. This is our projected blowout of the week. So as of right now, it's a pretty significant projection. I know TJ already congratulated you here on Wednesday at 12 in the afternoon. So congrats, RJ, for I guess your victory.
I don't believe that. That's already you got to go out there and take care of business. But honestly, TJ, if you are true, then the victory should ensure my bye in week 10. I lock up a bye. That's something else. That would be unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a hell of a season you're having. And it's a 30-point difference right now in projections, and you guys have full lineups in. So
well, projections really don't mean much. I will say that, but I mean, you did the projection chart and plus and minus the other day, and I'm pretty sure my percentage was, on the season, I was projected, my team has been projected to put up the most points out of any team, but I've also outproduced the most out of anybody's projections as well. So if that kind of plays like it's kind of played the whole year, hopefully I can still, outproduce my projections, and I have been. I'm looking at my matchups. I don't really have any slam dunk matchups, in my opinion. I think Aaron Jones he looked so good, even though that he really didn't produce last week. I mean, he just looked so explosive for being somebody that is still not 100%. He looked pretty darn close to 100%, in my opinion. I mean, there were 3 or 4 runs where, I mean, if he broke a tackle, he could have put up three touchdowns. And I'm looking forward to that. And then, like I said, with the breaking news of the podcast, 10 minutes ago, I am the Mike Davis owner. So he is definitely going to be, either a running back or a flex, start for me this week, which is just, in my opinion, that's going to be huge. Doesn't have the best matchup going against Tampa Bay's defense, super angry and embarrassed defense. But I mean, to start, a for sure workhorse, that's just such a huge advantage. So I'm looking forward to this week.
All right. Good luck, TJ.
Thank you.
No, TJ, not you.
Oh, yeah,
He's
TJ is going to need a lot of love. Sorry, TJ.
The last game here is myself versus Zamit. This is a mosh pit matchup. Checking current projections, I'm projected to win this week, as I've seen often this year. So I'm probably going to lose by
Wow.
30. Gurley is on bye for Zamit, but Zeke is on bye for me. He's got CMC, which looks like he's very doubtful to play. So I've got a shot here, but I'm a little nervous about my situation too because I don't know if David Johnson's going to be able to play. I have Wilkins from the Colts who plays Thursday night. Do I throw him out there? It's risky, but I do have Miles Sanders coming back, and the Eagles are back from bye. So um, I think my chances are going to come down to the Eagles. They got to put up points. Rager um, and Miles Sanders. And if I can get some production from DJ Moore and company, I should be good. But I want to point out too that I am playing Baker Mayfield this week. Matt Ryan's on bye, so he's always a risky play. But
Yeah.
he's playing
I
the
mean,
Texans. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I like that. I like that matchup. I mean, you also have to realize, Cleveland's coming off their bye. So, I mean, that whole team is going to be refreshed. So starting Baker Mayfield, who knows? We'll see what happens, but it could be a good start for you, man.
Yeah, I picked him up actually last week in preparation for this. So,
Right.
and I want to point out, JP picked up Tua on the waiver wire. So, I probably should have taken him, and if he
Right.
went off like he did against Arizona. So I'm curious to see how he does, but maybe Tua was the guy I should have picked up instead. But and I know JP is looking for quarterback production. If that guy turns out to be a stud, that could really help him
Yeah.
out.
No, you're right. I mean, we'll have to see. It's just your projected matchup is just so darn close. I mean, 150 to 133.36. If you break down the winning percentage, it's 49% Zamit and 51% User. So it's going to
Yeah,
come
and
down.
I could really use a win because in this next segment here, we're going to talk about the plate frame, and we've got 5 teams here that are in the running for this thing. Myself, of course, in 12th place at 3-6. Danny, Billy, and Steve Adams, they are all 3-6 as well. And then TJ's 4-5. And I'm including TJ in here because he actually has the hardest remaining schedule of all these teams I just mentioned. He plays he plays Zamit, and then he plays myself and Steve. So there's going to be a lot. These games it's going to come down to the wire. I think a lot of us play each other going to the end of the season. I play Steve and TJ. Um, Danny plays Billy and Steve. So everyone plays each other like twice going into the end. It's going to be very close. So if I can pull out a win against him, he's my hardest team left. That would be a huge boost for me to avoid the plate frame.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly feel that the plate frame person, it's going to come down to maybe the matchups of, like I said, weeks 10 through 13. I mean, the plate frame is completely up for grabs. I feel like last year for Zamit, like Zamit was always just, I feel like, in the basement. Like there was not 3 or 4 people in contention, like with around the same record, last year.
Yeah.
So this will be interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the wire for sure. So we'll see how it pans out. But just looking at these teams, like I said, TJ has the hardest remaining schedule. Then it's me, and then Danny, Billy, and Steve actually all have the same strength of schedule for difficulty. So their remaining opponents are 15 and 21. Mine are 19 and 17, and TJ's are 22 and 14. So Danny, Billy, and Steve have the best chance of avoiding it, I would say. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Should be interesting.
So I want to close this out with an interesting stat I looked at. And RJ, if you win out this season and I lose the rest of my games, you will have more wins this season than I have had in 3 years of league history.
Oh gosh.
I have 12 wins and you would have 13. You would have more than me in one season if things keep going the way they've been going. What a fucking nightmare.
There are no words. There are no words. That's brutal. That is brutal.
It has been brutal. But hey, man, I'll keep crunching the data. I might start mocking for next year soon. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Dude, that's insane. I don't know how you pulled that stat out, but I that is insane. That is absolutely insane.
Hey, when I saw I only had 12 wins ever, and you're on the track to 13-0, the light just kind of came on. I was like, wow, this could happen.
Hopefully not, but that will be some chatter for the off season if it does hapen. But
yeah, I might have to cancel the league if that actually happens. We'll see. All right. Did you have anything else to add, RJ, for the podcast?
No, man. I thought this was a good one. So I'm looking forward to week 10 and playing TJ and seeing what else kind of shapes up.
All right. Yeah, and you guys let us know if any feedback, anything we should change, add, remove. If you want to be a guest on the show, let us know as well. We'll try to accommodate. We want to have other people's opinions on here. And yeah, good luck to everybody in week 10.
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you.